C3.ai, otherwise known as AI ticker. It's available on the New York Stock Exchange. It's an AI ticker, which we've been covering on the Artificial Intelligence Fund here on Tradespotting channel, where we determine which AI stocks have the biggest potential and give you buys, stops and targets and see how far we can grow this fund together. It's already had triple digit increases from one video, so anybody who's playing along has done very well. If you want me to give you any other updates on any other AI stocks, or you have one that you'd like me to include in the portfolio potentially, just let me know with a fax request. But today's focus is on C3.ai, who help develop and deploy enterprise-scale AI applications on behalf of organizations. The platform includes development tools. We've got the C3.ai Studio and the C3.ai X Machina. They've got a library of turnkey enterprise AI applications, right? I'm not going to go on about it. They've experienced a growth deceleration recently. This is primarily due to a change in their pricing model. They have a usage-based pricing model. The company is projected to grow at around 15%. That's nothing. While C3.ai is a well-capitalized business, they don't have any debt. There is a little issue with the margins, right? The fundamental analysis isn't really fun, but it's fundamental, apparently. Financial performances has been raising some concerns, and their gross margins have deteriorated because of that change in the pricing model, though they are competitive. In terms of valuation, C3.ai currently trading at a price to sales multiple of about 16 to 18x, similar to other AI stocks out there at the minute. However, considering the company's financial performance might look a little bit overvalued on the ticker there. Let's see. From a relative valuation standpoint, other stocks have stronger business fundamentals, right? But we're all about the charts and making money here. We don't care about the stories. That's, you know, we'll tell our kids then when they're going to sleep and whatnot, but we're here to make money. Moving on to the quantitative analysis here, a lot of people rate it as a hold because of its previous performance when it comes to earnings, the momentum with regards to the statistics and the assessment from various industry analysts. Although the stock has showed mixed quant grades, it does look like it has strong technical momentum. This is very much a quantitative analysis, though. The stock has experienced a rebound this year, but it still remains below its all-time high. In conclusion to the introduction, they've seen some recovery. We traded the bum off that, and it does face some challenges, right, with its financial performance and valuation, blah blah blah. Compared to other stocks in the AI sector, maybe it's not the best buy right now. We'll have to check in with the charts, aren't we? So it's essential to assess these elements of risk reward if you want to be making money trading the charts, like I do all the time. As an example of that, here is AI's chart, where we talked about it before. The entry in around, where was it here? 24.34, price made it to beyond our target, and then where we thought the risk would change at 47.35. So just, here you go. Here was to the target. It was a 42% rise, but actually to where we ended up defining the risk changing and closing the position, that was a 93-95% move. So fantastic. Everybody's laughing, right? You only need 900% moves if you're starting with $1,000 to be a millionaire, and that's what we're doing here. We're making millionaires. We're all in this together, right? Even though you can't see my face right now, I have the puppet standing in for me. This channel was born from an endeavor to change the world, and recognized from the outset that we're in this together, right? I might be making the videos, but it's only possible with your support, and I try to give back as much possible value as I can. I think I do that, right? So if you want to support the channel, you can send in a fax request for any ticker you want me to have a look at and give you my opinion on. You could join my Patreon, or you could become a channel member, and any of those things really help support me in this job. So thanks very much for everybody who determines to do that sort of things. Really appreciate it. Right, so this thing was also a 1.13 extension. That was what we were looking at. It was bearishly divergent, so we took our profit, slipped out the bullish control zone, at which point we were waiting for a potential re-entry on this thing. I can tell you that this looked dodgy at the center line here. Should it fall below the center line, you'd think of the increased downward momentum, having previously put in, a lower high. You'd be then looking for a lower low, tested the 200 period moving average at $28 on 4-hour time frame. That looks like it's possible if things evolve to the downside. Up to the daily time frame, where you can see that it could get even worse, down to a 141 extension, a rocky outcrop flash at 11.62, and you have held, though, the center line on the RSI, and in this daily candle, you've managed to recover with a 4.8% rise so far. You've managed to recover back above your exponential 21 period moving average, which fandabadozy. Nor would you be able to say that this oscillation is over. Can't quite define that as a high yet, right? Though you could look to this and say, well, within that tiny move, you exceeded 236, which is all well and good. But if you're taking it from the ultimate low here, you'd be saying it hasn't necessarily petered out yet, right? It's not slipped below this 236. It comes in at 33.60. So this is where the risk changes to the downside. You get a higher low here, you catch the 50 simple on the daily time frame, and you go on up, then you'd be looking for another test of $47, right? That's what you'd be thinking. So this wouldn't be the position I would necessarily take. I'd wait to see at the time what price was doing. But this is the suggested trade entry if you're looking to go long and you're waiting for a deep value, well, no, just a good value entry, certainly not deep value. And overall, like I have said, this is a little bit, you should be cautious. You should certainly be cautious with this stock. Oh my goodness, is everything on the screen? Let me just double check. Does that work better? It does. The time frame, the price, and the ticker there on the left underneath all the other details. Right, so you can see that big rocky outcrop flash. Get that for yourself and get free access to the Rocky Outcrop Discord, which is an incredible resource full of people just like yourself trying to change the world, especially their own lives. And you could, that's an 886 retracement. Look at that. Oh my goodness gracious me. That's probably going to happen in this move. If it breaks that 50 simple, and I would anticipate it going to the 200, and if that doesn't hold, I would think that flash will fill in the same move. But there's a big call to make from here. Anyway, so yes, what was I saying? Probably something fantastic. Anyway, we're moving on. Price action. If it does roll over here, you've got your lower side targets, an 886 retracement back down on the dominant fib. You haven't yet put in a lower low. You have potentially put in a lower high, so we'll see how price action evolves on this retracement should it come down. If it just goes higher, then you're looking for a test of the previous high already. Though I don't see necessarily in the 4 hour, that's what looks what's happening on the daily. Potentially, weekly, because why not? Look, you've made it above the weekly rocky outcrop flash. Looking left, you can see that the resistance to the top side, if you do exceed the prior high, is $52. So, you know, just as you would wait for the entry price to get down here to determine whether or not this was a trade you were confident in taking, you would also wait to see how price performed at these levels before you decided to take everything off the table. Whereas a take profit target, for sure. Is it everything? Well, you'd wait to see how price was evolving at the time, because you could potentially go on and test 51, which from here is another huge rise. And who wants to bet against AI at the minute, right? Well, only silly people, you know, very silly people. You could look up the general sentiment around C3.ai since when we did the first episode of this stock, and you'll see that everybody and their granny was negative, bashing it and saying it was relatively weak compared to its peers, which is fine and good, but it made us lots of money, those who traded it. So the potential retracements, if it happens that to suit your preferences, budget and risk tolerance in or around these levels, if you get the signal, which will be determined by your own technical analysis, right? Which you can learn how to do just as good as I do. Well, close to it, certainly if you put in the effort as good as, because I give all of my best tips and the best method I have of teaching, along with the best versions and efforts from Rocky's lessons, all put together in a really comprehensive course that can teach you how to trade it. Technical Analysis, www.technicalanalysis.school. So check that out, right? So this is the target, 51. It's not call it a shameless plug, right? Because it's for you, that course, right? So if it does go on and on and on and on and on and arrest on, then you've got your extensions on this Fibonacci, which I would also look to, though the dominant fib from the entirety of price action is roughly this guy. And, you know, you'd be looking at this back above a 50%. If it does manage to get back above 43.60, it's a 50% retracement from the high to the low, which is done once, then I'd see the RSI in the bullish control zone. I'd acknowledge the fact that this is an uptrend and that it's got momentum on its side, right? And I would not bet against that. Well, it might fall down, right? There's plenty of other ways to make money other than that kind of crazy risk. So you've got your extensions here, you've got your dominant fib here, and you can see the 2618 next target above the 50 there. It's a horizontal level of resistance and support-ish. And then if you're to go on, you've got your 786 at 99.50. And then 886 at 132, which is also confluent with these extensions. But I don't anticipate that, really. You know, the shorter term, smaller move, which is still a huge percentage. You know, I'm not even saying that we should take this trade. I never say that about any trade, you know. It's not financial advice and whatnot. That's a 40% move. If you were waiting for it to come back down, test the 50 simple and test these lower levels that we spoke about, like the daily time frame flash down here. You know, was that all she wrote? It's at 1182. It's not yet even an interrupted flash. You'd be looking at, whoa, cherry here, right? Cherry. We're looking at this. If it did come back down and bounce, you know, it bounced just to the 200 period that much. At that point, that'd be an 80% move, right? So patience pays. There's no help in rushing to be rich and plenty of wealth in waiting to be right. So hold your horses. Right. So daily time frame, weekly, and 4 hour. We spent a lot looking at these important time frames and got a lot of information. We've got that center line there, 4 hour. If it does cross down the daily time frame, I'd question how that's going to handle it because it's below its own moving average so far. It's had the test of a center line, which you expect to bounce on. Hourly, it's lost the center line RSI. That's not so beautiful. And you can also see that there's bearish divergence on these most recent peaks. So test of the 200, well, maybe that's all she wrote on the downside move. If you're going to look for moves back up again, you don't necessarily have the bullish divergence signature that suggests that you're going to break back into an uptrend. It may well be then that this is a lower high. So I'd be very cautious immediately. Now my immediate outlook from the hourly to the 4 hour is that it's potentially bearish. Daily, weekly, you could see continuation of the trend. I'd anticipate my own trading, I'd wait for the best value on this thing. And you can see then, prior flash interrupted past a number of times. Get that indicator, so much money. You've come in, tested that low then. On the hourly, 15-minute, pardon me, you did have bullish divergence. And like to say, maybe your target then would be, in this instance, the 200. A rejection of that, when you see continuation divergence, looking left, price isn't as high as the prior high. Momentum higher, right? You might then say, well, rejection, where's the next level of support? And 50 simple Tradespotting. You can learn all about these moving averages on www.analysis.school, why I choose these ones, why they're important, and how to use them properly for yourself, make loads of money. Anywho, so definitely do that. Right, this is the price action still actually going sideways. That's the truth about what's happening here. It's going sideways. Roughly, you're looking at this sort of a formation, perhaps it's slightly lower, and it could well bounce around here for a while without any dramatic moves. 15-minute time frame says you've got signals both sides, buy and sell, so, you know, a little bit of congestion here possibly till such times as important moving averages have been broken, right? So on 5 minutes, the 3 minutes, and the 1 minute, you can see that there is potential reason to go higher, and like at some stage it will very much will do. This is looking like a downtrend on the tiny time frames, all your flashes filled and whatnot. So let's see how it falls on 3 minutes and 5 minutes, and if you get those moves back up again. Of course, you've come up and tested this flash once. It was interrupted. You got a couple of passes, so that might be all she wrote. I'm still waiting for the lower targets before I get back in again, and I definitely would have considered taking profits, you know, at some point in this move because of the artifacts that we see detailed throughout the video, right? So 4 hour, that's the one to look to. I talked about all the fundamentals, super fundamentals, didn't I? And the technical suggests that you'd be better off waiting. You know, we made lots of money on it already. Pooh, and there is some AI stocks still moving, shaking, moving. And happy to cover them shortly too. When I'm back on the regular scheduling, you know, and for all the Patreon members, you'll be getting the updates in your face ahead of everybody else. So check it out, right? And yeah, the dominant fib, the continuation, it's all clear there. It's just a very big reach, especially when you look at this reaction at the minute, right? There is a potential trend line to catch in terms of momentum. There is a potential trend line to catch in terms of price action. Let's see what they look like relative to each other. Of course, you could come back down then, big amount come back down on price action, whereas on the RSI, you know, you're already in and around those bounce levels. There is the potential for it to go lower, but you're going to lose the center line, and you've already had, you know, a potential drop below that could speak to warning signs, right? So, oof, right, definitely has the potential to come back down, and I'd look to this horizontal level on price action first in at around 33 spot 50 to $34. If that is to break, 200 period moving average test here on the 4 hour, very likely. RSI would start to look dangerous in the bearish control zone if you didn't get a bullish reaction from potential divergence at that area. I'd suggest that this looks weak, and when I compare these peaks, I'd say potentially you're going to break that trend line, but you'd have to see the evolution of price on that downtrend before you were able to make that determination. Like I say, we'll see how it evolves. So AI, huge popularity. Everybody loves a little bit of AI, don't they? And if you want to hear about other stocks, like I say, just let me know below. Join Patreon, you get the full suite of updates across all of the different AI stocks in the fund that we're talking about. You'll see all the buys, sells, stops, and everything else, and you'll be able to keep track of how well it's performing, the profits so far, and so on. And oh my goodness gracious me, it's well worth looking at. Great value that. And as you've heard, you'll be supporting me in doing this job, which I think is a good one to help people. So, if you want to help me, it's really appreciated. Thanks. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button. If you're new here, hit subscribe. And as I say, all good people around. So leave a comment, and I'm sure you'll get a response from a good person. You'll make a new friend. How about that? Somebody else is trying to do the same thing as you. Get rich by trading. Cool. So, that's the way to look at it, right? I know there's a lot of type A personalities who watch and tune in to the things I do because they want to watch and follow the smartest person. So they found me, and that's why they went. So shout out to you guys, right? I know you don't necessarily spend time commenting on YouTube, but a new string to your bow. Do it already. Right. Thanks.